Hello, good people of the internet. My name is Andy, and you're watching Geek Curio. And today we're welcoming to the show my good friend Martin, also known as Warbringer on Twitter. Martin, thank you ever so much for coming. How are you doing today?
Hi Andy, thanks. Yeah, no, I'm really good. I'm in a good place. Good for the weekend. It's a chill time in my house, so my baby's asleep. So it's sort of that hour's time you get to do whatever you want. So spend time with you.
Excellent.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you very much for making that time for us. Thank you. So, like I say, I know you through the UK Hobbyist Network, and I think you were one of the founding starters of that Discord channel.
I was one of the early adopters. I think I wasn't quite founding. So Pandora's Bits Box, or one of my friends Oz, he started it, and then I think when I joined there was probably 20 to 30 people. And then ever since then, I've been moaning at him about all the things he's done wrong and all the things that need to be improved. So he sort of ended up making me an admin. So I'm one of the admins with him. So I end up running it. And I think, what does he normally say? He normally says I fix things or put it right when he breaks it. So,
I interviewed
that's
him.
what I do.
I interviewed him a few months back, and he did mention you pretty much fix everything.
Yeah, I know he's broke the whole server once, and I had to fix that for him. I think he did it himself actually, but I double checked it after. So,
I can believe that, to be honest. But like I said, the UK Hobbyist Network, I'm part of that because I enjoy miniature painting, and you are a miniature painter too. How did you first get into that?
So I sort of got into the hobby in about 98, and I think it was about 1998, so quite a long time ago, at school, high school. So went to high school, as you do, you start looking for the sort of after school clubs, and you're playing the football, rugby. And there was one which was Napoleonic War Games and sort of Warhammer. So I joined that club. Didn't really enjoy the Napoleonic War Games sort of side. It was too big scale. These massive school tables, and they're sort of these like tiny little 6mm miniatures that have been painted exquisitely, and it just seemed too much for me. They were all painted perfectly, and then there was all the guys playing Warhammer Fantasy at that time, and Warhammer 40k, and they seemed to all be having so much fun, and all the models were really cool. And yeah, I think it was ever since then, really. And then I remember being in Ipswich on holiday at around the same time, seeing the Lizardmen and Brentonian box set that was out, and just absolutely being mind blown. I was like a 12-year-old kid, and 13-year-old kid at that age, and you think this stuff is just so cool, and the artwork was absolutely amazing. And I think I saw the Blood Angels. It was a Blood Angels box set or second edition cover with the Blood Angels captain, and he looked amazing. So I told my grandparents I wanted a Warhammer box set for Christmas, and they got me the wrong one. It was just funny. It always happens, doesn't it, at Christmas? You never get exactly
It's
what you
always
want.
grandparents too.
I know. And they got exactly what I asked for. That's the thing. I asked for the Warhammer starter set, the ones that come out with the editions.
Yeah.
But what happened was, unbeknownst to me, between when I asked and Christmas, the third edition came out. So I had the Fisherman and Dark Elves was it all then, and that's really, really cool. So when we look back, we used to play on the floor and all the stupid stuff that you do as kids. Not really know the rules, so you just roll dice and then I've won. It doesn't. Oh, I've lost. It doesn't really matter. And that's it. I've still got one of my first models in my cabinet as well that I've ever painted.
Oh, excellent.
So it's terrible. It's terrible. It's really bad. Seeing like what people can do now when people put up their first miniatures, I'm so jealous. Like the resources and the paints and everything is so much better now than it was back in the 90s, and I'm really jealous for anyone that starts out now.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I started out pretty much a couple of years after you. I remember that Warhammer Fantasy back box set because I painted a lot of Bretonians, and I wasn't really that bothered about the Lizardmen. But at the same time, I was mad about Wood Elves, so I bought everything on Wood Elves. I think I put myself in debt, to be honest. First time I ever really got myself in debt was with Warhammer Wood Elves. And yeah, I loved it at the time. Absolutely fantastic. And
they're absolutely phenomenal, aren't they?
Yeah, that is one of the things that I couldn't get my head around was ink, because at the time it wasn't washes, it was inks, and the instructions showed you how to add the inks to do the detail on the face, but I just had ink as in a biro pen stuck in my head. so I never bought the ink. So although I painted all my minis, they probably never looked as good as I thought they would. It looked a lot more colourful, cartoonish more than anything. So I know where you're going with your early paints.
I think that's exactly the same as mine. Like, I'm trying to see him. He's a librarian, Blood Angels librarian. It's horrendous. I remember being so proud of it. And I don't have, it's really a shame because I don't have any of the models after that. I don't know what I've done with them. I think I thought they were in the attic at my mum's, but they've gone. I think I painted the original lead Armanius Calgar, and I did quite a good job on that. I remember being really, really proud of that, but it's gone. I can't find any of it. So the only one, I'm chuffed I've got one of the first ones I've ever painted, which is that librarian. But yeah, it's terrible. I like the inks. I've still got one left. The magenta ink is the only one I've got left now. But I've still got a couple of the old colours, but most of it is now being replaced. Unfortunately, it's all gone or dried up as they happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a shame. Apparently you can rescue them, but not all of them, unfortunately. There's been a few that I've
done some rescuing, but it's really tough. You have to get that sort of the medium right and trying to get in there, but it doesn't work for me always.
And before this interview, you sent me some lovely showcase work of the Orks that you've been doing. Is that quite recent, the flash kits?
So the flash kits are the sort of the last few weeks. I finished those off about 3-4 weeks ago. Yeah, I think I finished. I didn't quite finish them in October, but I did finish them in November. So that's I extended it a month into November. That was they were really good. I did it to go with. We're looking to start a Crusade game sort of session with my gaming group. So as part of that, we're trying to build up Crusade forces. So I sort of built up Captain Badrock. I think I sent you a picture of him as well. He's like one of my favourite sculpts ever.
Is that the one with the Jolly Roger type hat?
Yeah, the really cool Admiral's hat and holding his gun up like this. And he's got a little, on mine, I put him on like a wooden base with a little nose-picking grot next to him. So, but I've always loved that sculpt since it came out, sort of 2009. And it was just, I liked Orks, had Orks once before this time, and then I got rid of them because I just couldn't get them painted the way I wanted it to, and used to get really frustrated the way I painted, and I was a real hobby butterfly switching and swapping. So yeah, Orks are much more recent, but those flash kits probably 3 weeks ago. So yeah,
very fresh. The paint wasn't quite dry on them when you sent them to me then.
No, I take pictures and stick them straight in the cabinet, so they go straight in the glass cabinet on a shelf. So I've got 3 shelves of Orks now, which are sort of done in the last about 18 months, a year to 18 months. That's sort of my time, and I've got quite a sizable force. But I painted deadlines, so I did. It was probably a year ago, last year. Now I did a Tale of MORE, the 4 Warlords. So I'm on a blog with a couple of people with Oz and who's Pandora, and then Crack and Doom Cool and a couple of other people. And a part of the blog, we did a sort of Tale of 4 Warlords. Yes. So build up like the proper old game, the Games Workshop White Dwarf stuff. Build up an army sort of each month sequentially, sort of 250 points at a time. So I did that with Black Legion. Actually, Black Legion Chaos I started with. But I started getting carpal tunnel in my arm. So it was about the same time I found out I started to get carpal tunnel. So I had to change to something else. So I was getting really quite down with painting them. So I painted an Ork Death Killer War Trike, which I think I've sent you a picture of as well, as a sort of like a palette cleanser, just to try something completely different. Yeah. And well, I just really loved it. I've got to say, I really enjoyed the experience of painting it. And then I went and bought 1,000 points equivalent recently on a massive order. And then every month I was painting about 250 points, really pushing myself to try and achieve that. And I did. I managed to get it all done. So by the end of 6 months, I had a 1,500 point army.
That's fantastic. So, is this part of the monthly challenge that we have on the
really good fun,
the UK Hobbyists Network? I think I lost you there.
So this year I've been running a You lost me?
Yeah, you're back now. Cool.
So, what did you ask me about this year? The hobby challenge.
12 months of hobby.
12 months of hobby. Yeah. So this year we've been running the 12 months of hobby. So it's I tried to do Tale of Warlords or More Warlords for everyone last year and the beginning of this year, which was really cool. We had quite a few people join that. And then for this year, I wanted to do something that spans the whole year. So 12 months of hobby, which is really just achieve something every month. And all the hobby really asks to do, all it tries to ask you to do is finish something. And it's not my definition of finished either. It's whatever your definition of finished is.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There's no hard and fast rule of it, which is what I wanted to try and make it really accessible. Started off with the Discord and then thought to see how we get on with it. But it is that it's take something that's not finished and finish it or progress it, and that's it. That's all you've got to do. And then I put some points together that tells you how many points you get. The only thing that you get negative points for is buying models. And it's quite a funny thing on the Discord. Whenever someone buys models, they sort of always go on there. They sort of explain they've got their minus 15 points. But it's really good because no one's ended up at the end of the month with minus points. Everyone's done more hobby than what they bought. So I think it's good.
That's impressive because GW's releases in 2020 have been absolutely phenomenal with Indominus, Saga of the Wolf, and I think this is MLG just posted some new stuff that's up for grabs as well. So
yeah, they've had a real run on it this year. It's been, even with like the lockdown, all the stuff that's going on, they've had one hell of a release schedule, and some of the things have been coming thick and fast. And yeah, so a lot of people have been buying stuff, as you can imagine. So some people still manage to get the max points each month, so which is good.
I think I'm going to have to get myself involved in that for 2021 because
yeah, I'm thinking of changing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking of changing it up slightly to make it less, because it ended up becoming massive in score points. You know, it's like, so you can get 70 points a month and things. It's quite unwieldy. So I'm trying to change it so that each month's got a challenge to it. So you get bonus points for doing whatever you do, but you'll get bonus points if you do what the month is. So, you know, it's not fully fleshed out, but it might be HQs in January, then a character, or a league's choice in February, and different things like that to give people an opportunity to sort of do the same as the Warlords, but without having the pressure.
Yeah. My problem at the moment is I finished something that I started last year, unfortunately. So it took me about 12 months to get through the Ork Blood Bowl team that I think I showed you last time we spoke. And it's all done. As far as I'm concerned, it's finished. The problem that I've got now is I've got nowhere to store it. So I think I'm going to have to do a bit of building some storage up in December, and then hopefully I'll be able to join in on the 12 months of hobby this January.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I've got IKEA glass cabinets, and then I bought Perspex shelves to go in them, so you can put like multiple shelves in. So they've got 6 shelves each, or about between that. They're flexible, so that's good. Finishing something that's only taking you a year is really good. One of our co-contributors to the blog, Kraken Doomcall, he's also on the Discord, but he doesn't post on there much. He's got models that are sort of 5-7 years old that he's only just finished this year. He's been finishing models. Most of them are gifts as well, so it's really funny. It takes that long to finish it off.
His work's absolutely brilliant, though. Obviously, this interview's about you, but he did the 12 Space Wolf Warlords. The
12 Warlords, yeah. And he did the Grand Annulus as well, which is just so good, because I printed all the icons off for him. So I designed all the icons in 3D and then printed them on my 3D printer for him, so he could make molds and make them out of green stuff a bit easier than trying to sculpt them in that detail. Wow. But I think that's part of the joy of the blog as well. It's been a bit quiet over the last 6 months. We haven't been posting as much as we were. Life takes over, doesn't it? Everyone's busy. But I think the one thing from all of us, and I certainly feel this, is that we all push each other forward in different ways. So it's that having other people, because I know them, they're part of my gaming team. We work every week to play Warhammer and stuff. But it's that constant drive forward to do better and have someone else. It's that. We have like WhatsApp groups and stuff between ourselves. We send messages and we always get a little pep talk, and always trying to keep up with each other or outdo each other. So that's sort of part of the fun as well.
Yeah, it's been really beneficial for me. I mean, the Wednesday night hangouts have been an absolute blast.
Yeah, they're good fun.
So
Yeah, they are good fun. They
yeah,
are really good. Everyone's good sports as well. So it's those have really grown, those Wednesday hobby
yeah,
hangouts. I can remember early doors when it was from Twitter, Gondas, Green Stuff and Glue, myself, and occasionally Rich Johnny Mutant, a few. That was probably about it. 3 or 4 people. It was always pretty much Sam Gondas and myself that was there. And then over time, more people have sort of joined and become the mainstay as well. And I think at some point in the last couple of weeks, we've had 22 to 23 people on at one go.
yeah.
And it's really busy, but it's great. It's really good. And it's amazing to look up at the screen. Everyone started sharing cameras as well. I'm not sure how that quite happened, but it did. And yeah, it's brilliant. You sit there with 20 other people, all painting, all chatting, having a laugh. So it's really good,
I think,
especially during lockdown when you can't socially
yeah,
discuss with other people.
yeah. Like I say, I introduced my friend, you know him as Thief, Gareth, to the group, and because him and I were doing it on Monday, so it was just me and him, and I thought it'd be more fun for him if he had more than just me to speak to. And of course, Gondas is just entertainment on its own. So
Yeah, 100%. Gonda's Grumble, we were calling it for a while, weren't we? So
yeah, I'm still
it's
waiting
good.
until
And
I get
I think
Gondas.
it's really funny whenever we get a chance. We get a chance to do the callbacks as well, which is really good. So that sort of like we've even got our own in jokes now, which is really
yeah.
But it's a good group when you get in jokes, and it's always funny when we do it. Especially if I say something and someone always asks, "Well, what's that about?" And you think, "Oh, of course, this has been going on since March." So you won't get these in jokes. But yeah, I know Gondas always advocates the use of Null Oil and Agrax Earthshade. They're his 2 favourite washes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of conversations about how they should always use those. So that's good.
And his attack bikes as well.
He loves attack bikes, doesn't he? Yeah, they are his favourite.
I'd love to get him on the
absolutely.
show just to talk about attack bikes. To be honest with you, I don't know if I've got enough hard drive space to cover all that, but
all the attack bike pictures.
So obviously, you're known for a lot of the GW stuff, and we just talked about Orks. And is there any miniatures outside of GW that you've had some experience with, or?
Oh, not really. So I had some. I think they're Mantic zombies. I got some Mantic zombies a few years ago because they look really cool.
Yeah.
I did those, but the plastic wasn't as good. It was just like much more brittle.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't go together as well. The sculpts I think are pretty good, but I GW kits are just the best out there. Not necessarily the game's the best out there, or most cost effective or value for money or any of that sort of stuff, but just from a pure aesthetic, they are really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the range and the versatility of their range is so good as well. So you can make so much if you want to do something, and you've got the time to sort of convert it and kit bash it. You can just do absolutely anything with the range, and I think that's one of the things I love about the Discord, and I love being on Twitter as well. Seeing all those what people have come up with, all that inspirational stuff you can sort of steal from other people.
Yeah.
And, it's brilliant. Some things you just don't think about until you're looking at other people and start looking at a kit differently. And I think that's the joy of the GW stuff, is there's so many options on kits now. I remember I've got the Mantic zombies up there, and they're great. They come in a torso, some legs, some arms, and a head, but they're all pretty much the same. There's not a lot of difference, and you end up having multiple torsos that are exactly the same. And it suits what they're for, but it's not as good with the detail in GW stuff. Is just so good.
Yeah, the details just off the charts now. Like say, I started with Wood Elves back in early 2000s. Back in the day, you used to get a Wood Elf archer used to come as one solid piece, which is just completely unheard of today. I really enjoyed painting one of the Warcry war bands, the Corvus Cabal, I think they were called. And that one just completely blew me away, because it made me... It's the first time experimenting with contrast and non-contrast as well, but the quality of it was just unreal, and some of my most favorite thing I painted in 2020 easily is those sculpts.
I think the detail can be really daunting for people. But I think if you can just get out of your head and just paint the bits you want to, leave stuff. If you leave it, you're not going to see it. I know people that paint Orc boys and just leave the trousers black. They don't paint it. They just don't paint anything from the waist down because you're not going to see them. It's not. It's about putting that effort in, and I think that's what I do now is only put the effort in where it's really you're going to see it.
So we talked a little bit about inspiration earlier. When you're starting a new army or a new model or something, where do you get your inspiration from?
So generally, before I start any sort of project, I'll do some research. It sounds really over the top for what we're doing, which is just model war painting. But I'll do some research. Simple as looking on Pinterest or looking on Instagram and just typing in a hashtag or a tag or whatever. So I painted a battle wagon recently and for Orks, and I just went onto Instagram and just typed in hashtag battle wagon. And then just scroll through that hashtag and just saw what other people had done. And, you take sort of things with that. And it's really good because sometimes you get to one and you look at it and it's sort of like Golden Demon quality or it's really good quality. You think, I'm never going to paint it. I'm never going to be like that. And then you see one that's so, and it's got, really, really simple colors. And you think, I could do that. I could do better than that because I could do this differently and that differently. And that's when you start getting those sort of juices going and being, well, actually, I really like that one thing and I like this thing, and that's how I sort of try to do it, is pick little bits. And I've developed my own sort of style. I know that sort of sounds over grandiose, I think, for miniature painting, but I think it's true. You do develop your own sort of style of how you end up painting. So I paint Iron Warriors. Iron Warriors is the other thing I've been doing a lot of, and it's sort of dirty and lazy, which is me. I'm lazy, and I like painting in that sort of dirty, lazy style. So it's with the carpal tunnel, I can't edge highlight as much as I used to be able to, so I can't do it. But it's time. If I try to do about an hour a night of hobby time. That's what I aim to get. If I don't get an hour in a night, I'll sort of bank it and get a couple of hours later in the week. But what I was finding is I was doing a 2-hour hobby session. I was trying to edge highlight gold, and my wrist would just be where the carpal tunnel is, and my wrist and hand would just be throbbing. And then I'd finish at 9 o'clock, go and see my wife, and I'd just be out. My arm would just be hurting the rest of the evening. It hurt into the next day. So I sort of stopped painting that way and started to paint the Orks and be a bit more quick, a bit more time limiting on myself. So give myself less time to do it. And I think that's really helped. Looking at inspiration and saying, well, I could probably achieve that, but I'm never going to give myself the time to do it. So what can I achieve that looks as good as I can in that time?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, this is partly a selfish question for myself because I'm always trying to find out more and more, but what brand paintbrushes do you use?
So paintbrushes, I use Winsor and Newton Series 7. Well, you can see that particularly well. They're not the miniature ones, just the bog standard Winsor Newton ones. I think they're sort of £7-8 a brush, which just seems quite expensive. But I've got brushes that are 3 years old and still going. And I only have I've got loads of brushes, but the ones I use effectively are a size 2, a size 1, and a size 0. And that's it. I have 3 brushes. So if you do anything with brushes, just buy 3. And you buy a pack of cheap ones off Amazon for washing and all that sort of stuff. So the cheap non-synthetic, synthetic, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just get some cheap brushes for sort of really doing the heavy lifting stuff. But then for proper painting, I use 3 brushes. Winsor Newton Series 7, 3 of them. So it's good. 210.
I've been looking into getting some Raphaels. Some people have said some really good things about that, just as a vanity brush more than anything. I've got the GW Artifice one, which I believe
really good. I'd look at them.
Is very similar to the Winsor Newton. Okay, and
I think some of the GW Artificer ones were. Sorry, I think the GW Artificer ones are rebranded Winsor and Newton ones anyway. I think some of them are like made by them.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much. I think everyone's under that impression as well. So there's not much difference between the two. And finally, just want to ask, do you have any tips for people wanting to get into miniature painting?
Yeah, I think if you're going to get into painting now, it's start steady, start small. So pick a couple of things you want to do. Pick a model kit that looks really good, and don't be hard on yourself. Don't try and intimidate the box. Make the box art exactly what you've done, because it's you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it first out the gate anyway. And if you do, brilliant. You're fantastic, and you can tell me how to paint, tell others how to do it. But I think starting simple, and I think the one thing I would say is get a base color on everything if you can. It's what I call like the ugly stage in painting. So you get to that point where you put a base color down with nothing else across the whole model, and it looks terrible. It doesn't look as good as you think, but you can only get better from that. And then what I would do is focus on an individual part. So with the Orks, I'll try and get all the base colors down, because what you can do there is tidy up. You can tidy up the base colors easier. And then you can start spending the time I spend time with them with my number one brush and start tidying up all the sort of start doing all the highlights and all the really sort of glazing that I want to do, or the washes. And then that way you finish an individual part after it. So if I was doing Orks, I'll get all the base colors down, then I'll finish all the skin, and I will do all my highlights, all my edge highlights, and everything associated with the skin. So I'll probably pick the face, because it's the focal point, and then I will spend as much time as needed to get the face looking as good as I can, and then move on to everything else. Because what you can do is, once you've spent that time doing the bit you're going to look at, your eyes aren't going to be drawn to anywhere else particularly, so you can start cheating and skipping bits, and it doesn't have to be done. So that's what I'd say.
Cool. Well, thank you ever so much for giving up your time today, and thank you for talking with us as well. We hope to see you soon, and I'll definitely be seeing you again on the Wednesday night hangouts and on the Discord that we both share. Thank you very much, Martin.
Yeah, brilliant. I'll see you Wednesday. Cheers. Bye-bye.